Rand Paul wrote an article in Time magazine on Sunday basically trying to find a middle ground in the gay marriage debate. Apparently he's getting less and less libertarian since he's now in a Republican primary and he needs to run further to the right. So first, he argues that liberals are hypocrites when it comes to contract law. Quote, "Do consenting adults have a right to contract with other consenting adults? Supporters of the Supreme Court's decision argue yes, but they argue no when it comes to economic liberties, like contracts regarding wages. It seems some rights are more equal than others." Okay, now, do you see the argument that he's making there? What's he really referring to? He's referring to the minimum wage. He's like, well, these liberals who say consenting adults should be able to do whatever they want to do, they don't say that when it comes to, you know, somebody who wants to go work at a company and they're willing to take $3 an hour in order to do the job. Oh, that's such a bad argument, man. Because think about it. The difference is, when it comes to business, one person has all of the clout. It's not a true 50-50, we're on equal footing negotiation going on. You have the owner class, and you have people who are renting their labor on the marketplace. Since it's not a 50-50 thing, of course you need to have rules and regulations in place to make sure that the person who's lesser than monetarily gets an equal shot and equal representation during the negotiations so they don't get screwed over. Okay, that should be obvious. That's apparently obvious to everybody else, that it's not an equal negotiation going on, except Rand Paul. With Rand Paul, he's like, well, if we allow gay marriage, we should abolish the minimum wage and let people contract to work for whatever amount they want to work for. Okay, so he's not done. He goes on to say this. Since government has been involved in marriage, they have done what they always do. Taxed it, regulated it, and now redefined it. It is hard to argue that government's involvement in marriage has made it better. A fact also not surprising to those who believe government does little right. So he goes on to say, just get the government out of the marriage business completely. That's his solution. No government in marriage whatsoever. Here's the problem with that. That effectively would ban gay marriage. Because understand, the overwhelming majority of the churches won't marry gay couples. So you get the policy goal that the right-wingers want without having to be as in people's face about it. That's what he's doing here. It's a backdoor way of saying just ban gay marriages again. Because right now, understand what this decision from the Supreme Court did is it made it so that the state, all the states in the country and the federal government, they all have to recognize gay marriages. But it doesn't make it so that a church has to marry gay people. But what Rand Paul's saying is get the state out of it. So along with the state getting out of it, what goes hand in hand with that? The actual gay marriages themselves. Because the churches aren't going to... Most churches are not going to do gay marriages. So he's saying, well, you have to go to the church. But then the church is going to say no. And he's like, okay, so be it. That's basically what he's arguing. And also, if the government isn't involved, well, then gay people are not going to get the same tax rights under law. They're not going to get the same inheritance rights. They're not going to get the same Social Security rights. They're not going to get the same visitation rights. All these things go into it, and the government has to be involved. If the government's not involved, then they're not getting the same rights. But that's the point. That's basically what he's getting at here. So it's a terrible idea, and it's an idea that was floated by some conservative Christians because they realize it's sneaky, but they're getting their same policy goals. But think about it, man. I think it's dumb politically, too. Because who are you pleasing? You're pleasing nobody. Libertarians are, by and large, pro-gay marriage. Well, you just pissed off your entire libertarian base here. People who loved you the most, you're saying, fuck off. And what the hardcore Republicans are not smart enough to realize that this is a backdoor way of getting the same policy they want. They think it's really a middle ground, even though it's not. So you don't gain the conservative base and the hardline Republicans. You lose the libertarians, and you also lose the progressives, because the progressives see you for the weasel you are, and they realize the end result is going to be not having equality and not having gay marriage across the board. So you think you're being smart and you're gaining everybody, but you just lost everybody. Rand Paul, as time goes on here and as we get further and further into the Republican primary, you're going to find that he's not like his father. He's made the argument before. It is true. He's not like his father. His father was much more principled.